So let's dive right in. There's this question, right? Why do some people get really sick, like chronically ill, after maybe years of emotional stress, while others don't?
Exactly. And that's where we're focusing today on Dr. Gabor Maté's work, especially his book, When the Body Says No.
Right, the idea that our bodies are kind of like emotional barometers, constantly reading our internal state.
And Maté really challenges this idea that the mind and body are totally separate things. It's just not true, he argues.
Okay, so what's his core idea then?
Well, his central thesis is that when we consistently push down our real feelings, our authentic needs maybe to fit in or keep the peace, we end up in this state. He actually calls it emotional self-abandonment.
Emotional self-abandonment. That sounds intense.
It is. It's not just feeling blue. It's this ongoing disconnect. Think about it. You're always saying yes outwardly, but inside, your gut is screaming no. Well, your body eventually pays the price. A real physiological price. Your immune system, your nerves, your hormones, they start whispering the truth first, maybe through fatigue, then maybe shouting it through actual illness.
Okay, so let's dig into the patterns he found.
Yeah.
Because this is based on, looking at actual patients, right?
Hundreds of them. People with chronic conditions, cancer, autoimmune diseases, things like that. And he found these really striking common threads, emotionally speaking.
What kind of threats?
Okay, so there are 4 main ones that really stand out. First, this constant drive to please other people all the time.
Okay, the people pleaser.
Exactly. Second, a real habit of suppressing anger, not dealing with it, just swallowing it. Third, feeling incredibly guilty if they even think about setting a boundary for themselves.
Wow. Guilt for saying no.
Yeah. And finally, this feeling of being totally responsible for how everyone else feels, their happiness, their comfort, while completely ignoring their own needs.
That's quite a list.
It is. And this is where we get to the how. Maté doesn't just list traits, he connects them to physiology. He talks about a personality type often seen here. The compulsive caregiver.
Compulsive caregiver.
Yeah, often very kind people, empathetic, hard workers. But, and this is key, they're sort of disconnected from their own emotional needs. And when those 4 patterns are running constantly...
Chronic stress.
Bingo. The body's stress response system, the fight or flight, is basically stuck on.
So we're talking constant cortisol, adrenaline, just flooding the system. Kind of wearing it down.
Precisely. Chronic high cortisol, for example, we know it messes with the immune system, increases inflammation. It makes the body more vulnerable. Maté puts it starkly. The problem often isn't the stress itself, it's our inability to say no.
When your mouth can't say no.
Your body eventually will. Through pain, through fatigue, through illness, it finds a way.
Now, I know some people hear this and think, hang on, is this blaming the victim, like you made yourself sick? How does Maté address that? Because that's a sensitive point.
Absolutely is. And he's very careful here. He stresses that emotions don't directly cause the disease, like flipping a switch. It's more about influencing the body's internal environment, the terrain.
Okay, so it makes you more susceptible.
Right. It makes the body less resilient to stresses or predispositions that might already be there. So it's really not about blame. It's about understanding a powerful chronic stressor, this constant self-suppression. It's causality, not culpability.
Okay, that distinction is crucial. Causality, not culpability.
Yeah.
Right.
He often points out that people don't get sick because they're bad or weak, but often because they're, in a way, too good, always putting others first to their own detriment.
So if the illness is the body finally saying no, what's the path forward? Healing must start with listening.
Absolutely. It begins right there. Noticing those signals we usually just power through, that tightness in your chest, the bone-deep exhaustion sleep doesn't fix, that knot of anxiety when someone asks for another favor.
Those aren't weaknesses, they're messages.
Exactly, information. And healing involves giving yourself permission, maybe for the first time, to actually feel things like anger, sadness, fear, without that layer of shame that made you bury them in the first place.
So the real work is learning to say no without feeling crushed by guilt, setting those boundaries.
That's the core of it. Learning that emotional labor lets your body finally stand down from high alert. It gives it permission to rest, to recover.
It's the ultimate act of self-care, really. Removing that constant internal stress.
It really is. Prioritizing your internal reality allows those innate healing processes to actually work.
So the big takeaway here seems to be, pushing down your feelings doesn't make you strong. It just forces your body to speak louder.
The symptoms are messengers, not the enemy.
It leaves you with a final thought, doesn't it? If your body speaks in symptoms, maybe it's time to learn its language. Are you ready to listen? because sometimes the body says no long before we find the words.